Right, happy Wednesday. Let's do some grammar. Okay, this time we're working on complex sentences. So we're going to underline Mr. Hernandez because that's your noun. Who is a relative pronoun, but you're thinking, boy, that's a weird way to start a sentence. But look what I have right here. I have a comma. So that's kind of a traffic signal for me. It's kind of slowing me down a little bit. So we'll see what it's going to happen. Is a linking verb. A is an article adjective. Professional is modifying storyteller, and storyteller is a noun. Which storyteller? The professional storyteller. So that's an adjective. Look, I got another comma. So there's another traffic signal there. And then I've got performs as an action verb. At is going to be a preposition. Many is going to be an adjective. Different is going to be an adjective. And festivals is going to be a noun. Different is going to modify festivals. And so is many. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of our object of the preposition and identify this whole phrase as a prepositional phrase, and it's answering the question, where are they going to perform? So it's an adverb prepositional phrase. Okay, let's go find our predicates. We've got is, linking verb predicate, and we've got performs, action verb predicate. So who or what is? Mr. Hernandez, who is a professional storyteller, performs. Who performs then? Mr. Hernandez performs. So it's kind of like this whole sentence section right here is kind of inserted inside of this clause right here. So this clause starts here with the subject, Mr. Hernandez, and ends over here with performs at many different festivals. That's kind of tricky, isn't it? So who is your subject? Who is storyteller is your predicate nominative. Okay? This is a dependent clause because you can't have a clause that just who is a professional storyteller because it doesn't stand on its own. You're going to say who is a professional storyteller what? Finish the sentence. And it starts with the relative pronoun. So you might want to get out your cheat sheet. Do you remember? Go to your cheat sheet. Go to your clauses. It's on the back. Find your dependent clause that starts with a relative pronoun. Dependent clause starts with a relative pronoun, makes it an adjectival dependent clause. Okay? So this time I have an independent clause. Remember, these go together. Plus a dependent clause, and that's going to equal a complex sentence. And of course, this one is also a declarative because it's just stating something. Mind blown? Yeah, I know. All right. When is a subordinating conjunction. Mr. Hernandez is a noun. Performs is an action verb. Look, I've got another traffic signal right here. He is a personal pronoun. Enchants is an action verb. The is an article adjective, and audience is a noun. Let's go find our predicates. We've got performs, action verb performs, and we've got enchants, action verb predicate enchants. Who or what performs? Mr. Hernandez performs. Who or what enchants? He enchants, and who does he enchants? The audience. So that comma right there was a traffic signal for us to separate our two clauses, correct? Now, one of the things I kind of want to do right here is I want to make sure that we identify that there are no phrases identified. We can't just leave it blank, because if you leave it blank, it signals your teacher that you may have skipped it and you don't recognize that there aren't any in there. So squiggly it out, cross it through, somehow make sure that your teacher knows that you identify there are no phrases there. When Mr. Hernandez performs, cannot stand on its own. It's a dependent clause, which means it's waiting for the rest of the stuff to happen. So go find a dependent clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction. Dependent clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction is an adverbial dependent clause, all because of how it starts. He enchants the audience is an independent clause, and it stands on its own. So we've got a dependent clause plus an independent clause, and that too equates to a complex declarative sentence. Okay? All right, Mr. Hernandez is a noun. Requested is an action verb. A is an article adjective. Glass is a noun. Of is a prep. And water. Look, we have a comma right there. Of is a prep. Water is a noun. Get rid of your object of the preposition. And we can go ahead and identify what glass. It's a glass of water, so that's an adjective prepositional phrase. Which is a relative pronoun. He is a personal pronoun. Promptly ends in ly and is modifying received. Received is an action verb, and promptly, therefore, must be an adverb. So let's go find our predicates. Requested, action verb predicate, and received, action verb predicate. All right. Who or what requested? Mr. Hernandez is your subject. Mr. Hernandez requested glass, which is your direct object, and who or what received? He received. He received. So this comma right here, again, was a traffic signal to separate your two clauses. Mr. Hernandez requested a glass of water is an independent clause. It can stand all by itself. Which he promptly received cannot stand by its own. So it's a dependent clause, and it begins with a relative pronoun. We just looked that up. So it's an adjective dependent clause. We have an independent clause plus a dependent clause equals a complex declarative sentence. Now look, it doesn't matter if it starts with an independent or a dependent. It doesn't matter. It's if you add the two together, then you get a complex declarative. All right, we have one more. People is a noun. Love is an action verb. The is an article adjective. Way, in this case, is acting as a noun. He is a personal pronoun. Tells is an action verb. Stories is a noun. Because is a subordinating conjunction. He is a personal pronoun. Oops. Changes, action verb. His is a possessive pronoun. And voice is a noun. Okay. Let's go find our predicates. We've got love, action verb predicate love. And we've got tells, which is an action verb predicate tells, and we've got changes, which is an action verb predicate changes. So who or what love? People love. And what do people love? The way. Who or what tells? He tells. What does he tell? Stories. And who or what changes? He changes. What does he change? His voice. Now, I've got 3 subject predicate sets. And I can do this one pretty easily. I'm just going to separate them because that looks like it's going to separate really easily, right? People love the way. It's an independent clause. It stands all on its own. I'm going to skip this one just a second. Because he changes his voice, it starts with a subordinating conjunction. Because he changes his voice, can't stand on its own. It's a dependent clause starting with a subordinating conjunction, which makes it an adverb dependent clause. So far I have an independent plus something plus a dependent. So I have something. Right now, so far I already have a complex. I just need to fill this in, right? He tells stories. It actually sounds like it goes all by itself, but in the English language, sometimes we tend to omit words. Like if I say sit down, and I'm looking at you, you assume that you is the subject of the sentence. You sit down, but we don't ever say it. So what really goes here is an assumed that. People love the way that he tells stories. And that is a relative pronoun. So it's a dependent clause starting with a relative pronoun, which makes it an adjective dependent clause. So I have an independent plus a dependent plus a dependent plus, it could be 5 other dependent clauses. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a complex sentence. Clear as mud? All right.